Hello, everyone. So, welcome back. This is our day 7. Okay, so we are doing a mini project here. Okay, we are just going to write this expense tracker with vanilla JavaScript. Okay, so we have learned a lot in the first 6 days. So let us now build a small project. Let us build small, small. All right. So the objective is that we are going to build a simple web app that track expenses with add, delete, view, and total calculation functionality with a dynamic UI. So what we are doing here is that a user can actually enter their expenses. They can add to it, they can delete it, they can view it, they can also have the total calculation of their expenses. A very simple app, okay? So why this project matters, it teaches DOM manipulation, event handling, and array methods. Okay, it teaches DOM manipulation, event handling, and array methods. It simulates real-world app development. It's excellent for portfolio and interviews. So, in as much as it is a small app, but we have to build small, small, so that we build our muscles small, small before we get to building big apps that we'll be building in this mentorship program. So add a new expense. So our project, the features of this application is that it will allow us to add a new expense, the name of the expense and the amount. It will also allow us to delete an existing expense. It will allow us to show all expenses in a list. Okay, so these are the requirements. It can calculate the total spending. Very simple application. Okay. It's also going to have a dynamic UI update, so we don't need to reload the page if we add an expense, it will automatically dynamically update. If we delete, it will automatically update. Okay, so now let us go into coding. Let us open any folder. Okay, so I have a folder and I've opened it already here. I called it expense tracker. So find a place and have your find a place. So now I am going to inside of this folder I have my index.html, CSS, style.css, and app.js. Okay, so now let's take time and build our project. So first of all, my doc type. Okay. Yeah, this looks very, very primary, right? But it's okay. My doc type is HTML. Sometimes we focus on big, big things and we even forget these small, small ones. Sometimes I even struggle with these things. So I'll be like, how am I forgetting this? All right, so now our HTML will have our our head tag. And then we'll have our meta, the class set is equal to UTF-8. I will have another meta tag. So this is for um, responsiveness. Viewports is the view. The content is the device width. Width is going to be equal to device width. Hope is correct. Okay. And then initial is going to be scale. What is it again? Scale is equal to 1.0. And I will close my tag. All right. Then our title. Oops. I don't know. Sometimes typing these things is just so. So look at what I'm going to do. I'm going to end my slide. And I'm just going to copy the whole HTML code. I'm just going to copy the whole HTML code. Okay, I'll copy the whole HTML code. Okay, so then once I do that, I am going to show you everything that I have. I could actually type in the JavaScript. This one could make it longer for us. Wow. Okay, so I have it. I have everything here. So let's go back. Um, I'm a bit slow, right? Sorry about that, please. Okay, so now this is our full HTML. All right, this is the title, expense tracker, and we have this H1 in the body, and then we have these input fields. The first one is for the name of the expense. The second one is for the amount. Then we now have this button. Okay, so we have our another H2. We have H2 here, and this is where we'll be adding all the list of all the expenses, and this will be the total. All right, the total is in dollars. Okay, now you can see I am also importing the app.js here, but I am not importing the CSS yet. So I'll go to the head and I will do link. I will do link, and then rel would be style sheet. Rel will be style sheet, and then href. Href will be style.css, and then everything is cool. So if I go on and run go live, of course, we are going to have so this is what we have. All right, this is what we have. So let's go and style it a bit. Let's go and style it a bit. So I will go to CSS, style.css, and I will move this over to the CSS. So I will take time to type in the CSS. So the first thing I'm going to have here is the body. I'll style the body, font family is going to be Arial sans serif. Okay. And it's going to have padding, 20 pixels, top, bottom, right, left. All right. Then for our input elements, we are also going to style them. Okay, so for our input elements, we are going to style them. So we are using tag. So no, we are using we are grouping input and button. So we are using, so here the padding is 5 pixel for every angle, and then the margin is 5 pixel too. Okay, so let me take this up. For the another list, we have to give it list style of none. We don't want it to have any style there, and then padding is 0. Padding is 0. Then for the li, for the list item, padding is 5 pixel. Border, oops, border bottom. Border bottom is 1 pixel. I hope you understand what this means. So the border of it is going to be, they're going to be to have a line. Then display is going to be flex. Justify content is going to be space between. All right, so now I have saved this file. Remember, we have already included it here. So if I go back to the browser now, yeah, you can see what we have now. It looks better now. See what we have now. It looks better. Okay. All right. So now let us now go into the JavaScript. So the JavaScript implementation, first of all, we are going to have an object, an array. We are going to have, so I'll go to app.js. So we are going to have a variable, a global variable of expenses. So it's going to be an array of objects. Okay. So that's the first thing, the first step. The second step is that we are going to add the expense button. Sorry, the expense function, the add expense function. So if I take this thing a bit. So now what we are going to do is this. Let's have some comment here. I'll say add expense, add expense function. So I'll create a function here. Add expense. So I have const name, document dot get element by ID. So I'm going to get the ID. You remember one of the for the input elements, we had the ID is expense name. So we are getting that. So this is DOM manipulation. We are getting that and we are getting the value of it. So the value will give us the name. So we'll do similar thing for the amount. Oh, what did I do? This dot value. Okay. So so we are going to do similar thing here for the amount. So I'll copy it. The only thing is that I will change the name. So it's going to be amount. It's going to be amount. And there's going to be expense amount, not expense name. That's the ID of it. And then remember, this is going to return a string, but amount is actually supposed to be a number. So we are going to typecast this thing to a number. So I will use the number. Uh, I will use the number constructor function to convert this to a number so that this amount is now a number data type. Okay. So now if you go back to our HTML, you will see that this input, look at this input fields. The ID is expense name and expense amount. So we are getting the element and we are taking the value out of it. So whatever the user enters into the bus, that's the value. All right. So now I'll go back to app.js. Now let us do some validation. We want to validate. First of all, we cannot just come. Let us validate if the name is empty. So this I'm using the negation operator. If the name is empty or null or false, or the amount is less than 0. So they didn't enter anything. Less than or equal to 0. That means they didn't enter anything. If the name is empty, that means the user have not entered anything. If the amount is also 0, they have not also entered anything. So we are going to give them an alert. We give them an alert and tell them enter valid name and amount. Okay. Enter valid name and amount. Then we will return. All right, we will return. So we will return. I would also do this here. We will return. Okay, so in case whatever they give us, they have not given us anything, they have not entered anything, we'll return. So let's continue with the rest of the code. Now, if they have entered something, all right, we are out of here. If they have entered something, we want to create an expense object out of what they have entered. So we create expense, and then we would create an object ID. We are giving it an ID of date.now. So date.now is a function in the date. So it will give us because every second there is a new date. So every second there will be a unique date value. Okay, so that's for our ID. Then name and amount. So we have created an object here, this expense object. So after doing that, remember that this expense is an array. So once we are clicking on that add expense, so once we have done this, what we do is that we will now we'll now do expenses dot push. We are pushing in this expense that we created. So for every time this button is clicked or this function is called, we are creating, and we make sure that all these things are not null or empty or less than 0. We'll create an expense object and add it to the expenses array. So, but after doing that, we need to update our UI. So we are going to call this update UI method. We have not created it yet. We are going to create it later. Update UI. This update UI is going to take, as we are going to see later, it will take all the expense object we have in the expenses array, and then it would, what was it called again? It would populate the UI. So do you see that later on? Okay, and immediately we need to clear the buses. Okay, we need to clear the buses. So document dot element this. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to copy this thing. Okay, I will copy it, and I will just show you what I want to do here. So of course I don't need these constants. I don't need them. I just want to get the objects, the document, as in the element. I just want to get the element, then this will be equal to 0. So we are clearing it, and this will be equal to empty. So as soon as we have updated the UI, we have created our expense and added it into the expenses array, we are clearing the UI so that as soon as the user clicks that add button, whatever they have in the bus already will be cleared. So, okay, this could also be, instead of 0, it could just be empty string 2. Okay, so now our add expense button is done. So let's expand it and see what we have here. So look at it here. This is the function. All right, we get the document, the elements, get their values, convert this one to number, check if they are not valid values, we'll return. If they are, we create an expense object, push to this expenses array, then we'll update UI. Okay, now let us continue with what we have in the slide. So the next thing is for us we'll create the delete expense function. Okay, let's create the delete expense function. So I can just collapse this. Const delete is equal to ID. So sorry, we are using an arrow function. All right, we're using an arrow function. Sorry, delete is a keyword in JavaScript. My bad, delete expense. That's what we should. Sorry. Okay, so I was wondering where the error was coming from. Okay, so this delete expense would expect an ID. Okay, so we are now going to use the filter. So now I'm going to use the filter remember, this expenses is an array, all right? So I'm going to use the filter method to filter out any expense. Oh, sorry, this is blocking my view. So any expense that in whereby this function has to return expense.id is not equal to. So I believe you understood the filter method in the array that we talked about. So this function for any, of course, we are looping through the expenses array. So for any expense object inside of this expenses array that matches that, this returns false, for this will be that will be added. Okay, so now we would put it back in the expenses like this. So we are filtering. What we are trying to do now is that we want to remove that expense object that has this ID. All right. So I have explained this thing in the filter method that we had. So with this now, after doing this, after filtering, we will update UI. We will update UI. All right. So let us go and create the UI function now. Okay. Okay. Sorry. So let us create this arrow function, update UI. Okay, it's going to be an arrow function. So this UI, what this UI is going to do is, first of all, we need to get, do I still have that stuff? Okay, so look at what I want to do. First of all, we need to get the, now if you go back to this our index.html, you will see that we have this UL. This is where all the list of the expenses we have will be updated. So we are going to look for this expense list. That's the name. That's the ID. So instead of expense name, we'll say expense list. Okay, but we are not looking for the value. We are going to work with it separately in a different way. So we will call it expense list. We'll call it expense list. And then we are going to, first of all, anytime we call this update UI method, what we want to do is the expense list, we want to go for the inner HTML and make it empty. After making it empty, then we can now do the next thing we're trying to do here. So after making it empty, we will go through, we'll now loop through this expense array. We will loop through the expenses array. For each of them, we are going to create an li. So we will have this expense. For each expense, we are going to run this function. We are going to create an li, a list item. So document.create, this is DOM manipulation. Document.create element. And what is the element? We are creating an li. So as we have created this li, so for every expense that we have, we are creating an li, and we are going to append. So now this is, look at what we are doing here. This could be tricky. So we now say li that we recently created dot inner HTML, all right, is going to be equal to this template literal. So this is, look at what I'm doing. Inside of this template literal, I'm going to say es.name, okay, then hyphen this esp.amount, then I'm going to have a button. Okay, you can see we are really doing some stuff here. I'll have the button and I will have the on click. this onClick is going to call the delete function that we just created, the delete expense, and then we are going to pass in the ID, esp.id. Remember, it requires that. Then I'll do this, close this, and then I will call it delete. Okay, so we have created a dynamic element here. It's crazy, right? Okay, so now after we have done that, we are not going to append it. We will now look for the UL, then append. Okay, so we have done this. So now let's go and append it to the expense list. Remember, we have gotten the expense list here. Remember, we gotten the UL. So we emptied it, and then we are now looping through all the expenses, and then um, for each of them, we would append expense list dot append child. So we append the LI as a child. Remember, UL always have LI. So we have done this. That's fine. Okay. All right. So let me show you the full code. All right. So this is the update UI. Okay. This is the full code. So you can pause the video and take a look at it and get it correct. So the next thing is let us calculate the total. All right. Once we are... So still inside of the update UI, updating the UI, we also need to update the total. So we'll calculate total. So total equal to expense. All the expenses, we are using the reduce method. And so the reduce method will take in this arrow function. Okay, so it will take this arrow function and then it will take sum, the sum as the accumulation, and let me just call it maybe num. All right, or let me call it amount. So we'll now do sum plus amount. Then the initial value of this sum is going to be 0. Like I said, I'm not going to be explaining this. We have already talked about it. Okay, so let's see what we have here. Okay, so, oh, my bad. We are going to get this amount from the expense. Remember, we have that expense object. So expense.amount, that's where we are getting it from. Okay, sorry. This could have given us a big problem now. Okay, so this is what we have now. So immediately we do that, we will get the document.get element by ID. We'll get we have an element there that is, the ID is total. So we now say dot test content. So the test content is going to be total that we just have now. Okay. All right, so this is it. This is the full update to the update UI function. This is the full update UI function. Okay. Then the next thing is to let us now, because remember, we have to add the event listener. So on the click of the add expense button, we want to add the event listener on it. So we are also going to look for the add expense button. So if you come here, you'll see that this is the add expense button. we look for it and add the event listener to. So whenever they click add expense, whenever they click this button, we are adding this event listener to it. So I'll go to the app.js. So at the end, I would have document dot get element by add expense dot add event listener. So on the click of this, so we are adding this event on the click event. On the click of it, we want to call the add expense function. Very simple, right? Very, very simple. All right, so let's go and test our application. So this is the full code. This is the full code. I would expand it. This is the full code. Add expense, blah, blah, blah. So you can just pause the video and take a look at it. So if I go to the browser now, so if I look at it, if I click on add expense, look at it says enter valid name or amount because I have not entered anything, so it's validating it. So I will enter food and the amount is, let's say, 3,000. And if I hit add expense, remember immediately I hit add expense, the add expense function will be called and the update UI also will be called. So once I hit enter, look at it, it has been updated. And you can see we have the delete button here. Remember, we did this thing dynamically. We added that. This is the airline we added dynamically. And you can see this border color that we have here. So if I add another one, TP, and I'll say it's 1K, all right. You can see it's updating it, looking good. I add another one. What can I call it? Maybe movie. And the movie is another 1K. All right, you can see it's making sense. So if I go on now to delete, look at if I click on this delete, it will delete this food, 3,000. Look at it, it deleted it and it updated the UI because when we call this delete function, when we click on this delete button, we are also calling the delete function. So if your code has not worked till this end, please reach out to us. Come to the WhatsApp group, reach out to us. Let us help you out. Okay? Your code should work. This is making sense. This is working now. All right? So if I delete again, look at it, it deletes. And if I delete the last one, everything goes back. Okay? So now, there are optional things that we can do. We can enhance it, but I'm going to leave it to you to do. Store expenses in local storage to persist data. Because now, look at, if I go back to there are some limitations to this, our application. If I go back and say food and say 1,000, all right, if I hit enter, look at it. If I refresh this page, remember we have this expense. If I refresh this page, let's see what happens. You see everything goes. So with local storage, we can actually have some persistence, okay? So we can enhance by storing our expenses in local storage. So I want you to do that. I want you to add categories to the food, I want to add categories to the expenses. So the expenses, what category? So what you have to do is to add an input button, an input element that will take for the category. Then you could also add it, get the value. All right, then add it to the expense object and add it to the expenses array. We can also sort expenses by amount or date. Now remember that the expenses is an array, so you can sort it. Use the expense array.sort method to sort it by amount or by date. Then you will add, instead of delete, also add the editing button so we can edit an expense. So how do you do this? You create while you're creating the LI, you would also create an edit button. So on the click of that edit button, I think it should bring another form for editing. All right. So this is crazy. I want you to do it. If you cannot do it, reach out to me. All right. If you cannot do it, reach out to me. But try your best. Do it yourself. Okay. And then advanced challenge. You can show percentage of each expense relative to the total. Let's say now we have an expense 1,000. Let's say we have food 1,000. We have drink 500. We have shawarma 300. All right, and the expenses could be, let's say, 1,500. So show the percentage of each expense relative to the total. Now, this is critical thinking. Think of how to solve this problem, okay? Highlight expenses above a threshold in the red. So let's assume now that expenses that are above 500, you should mark them red. So the color, you should give them a color of red. So just play with this, okay? Add monthly filtering. If you're using date input, you can add monthly filtering, okay? All right, so why this is useful? It prepares students for real world application. Now, these are the kind of things you'll be doing in big applications, okay? It reinforces array methods, map, filter, and reduce, okay? It encourages dynamic UI handling and DOM manipulation. So enjoy this challenge, and I will see you in the 8th. Or if you cannot do this thing, please just reach out to me, okay? And I'll help you out. Thank you very much, and I'll see you later.